Welcome to In Progress, a podcast to help you grow and learn how to become a better version of yourself. Now, here's your host, Michael Cirigliano.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of In Progress. I'm your host, Michael Cirigliano. Now, today we're going to break down why it is that men cheat, why you got cheated on by your man, why men cheat in general, and how to kind of see the signs of a cheater before getting cheated on. Now, I know last week I just did a video on why women cheat, and I had a woman in the comments explaining what she went through with a current ex or previous ex and all the hell that she had to go through when he cheated on her and how that kind of changed the trajectory of her life a little bit, right? So I felt like it was necessary to go over how to identify a cheater, why men cheat, because, men cheat more than women, right? So we're going to break all that down. First half is going to be the standard stuff that probably everybody knows, but we're going to reiterate. All the men know at least. Women probably have an idea. Back half is going to be a little more in-depth of the male psyche. So, first of all, society alone right now is pretty much just made for cheating, right? Rap music is all about cheating, side hoes, women singing about all the men they sleep with, men singing about all the women they sleep with, and fans of that music and those artists championing that music and singing it on repeat in their car, at the gym, and at concerts. So we have a society right now that is basically built upon infidelity. So you can't really fault the people in society for cheating when they're only getting told that cheating is acceptable. When you have a guy singing about how he cheats on his girls and then women are rapping those lyrics, that gives off the wrong impression. Now, music is just music, but at the end of the day, it's still subconsciously going to bleed into the psyche and it's going to make it okay. Social media is the same exact way, right? On social media, there's always these joke posts about side hoes and side men and side women and, having friends that are more like, the guy friend that after the girl breaks up, she goes to hang out with him and they fuck and things of that nature that are just so commonplace in society today. So a big reason as to why infidelity is such a big deal now is because it's normal. Unfortunately, it's normal. And I also want to say that because society now, at least in America, is completely godless, we have people just running around, getting drunk, doing drugs, killing other people, and having sex with whoever they want, however they want, as many times as they want, and then, settling down way later in life. And that's just, that's not a formula for success. So men are at the absolute bare minimum, right? We don't think very deeply when it comes to the physical aspect of sex, right? With men, and I could speak from experience, regardless of the man's value, regardless of the man's relationship status, if a man is approached by a woman of any kind, obviously there's extremes that this rule doesn't apply for, but say that there's a guy and he has a wife and he's a high value man and he's at a bar and a regular looking girl, he has a model at home, a regular looking girl approaches him at the bar and flirts with him and introduces the topic of sex and says that she wants to have sex with that man. At least 75% of the time, the man will entertain the idea of it. Now, obviously that's not what you want to hear, but that's just the cold hard truth of it. There are some men with willpower who will, they'll think about it but won't do it. And then there's the ones that will think about it and say, fuck it, why not, and do it. I've been in both boats. And I can tell you right now, all it is willpower. Now, if you're with a man who maybe isn't used to getting a lot of girls and now all of a sudden does get a lot of girls, he'll be more intrigued by it. It'll be easier for him to say yes. It'll be harder for him to say no to that because for him it's all like a game of catch up, right? And I was in that same exact boat where when I turned 18, 19, 20, that's when I started getting a lot of attention. So for me, monogamy wasn't really a possibility because I was basically living out my teens while I was in my early 20s. So some guys are like that, where for them, it's just a numbers game. Oh, I get to do another one. And for men, sex is not that deep. So for men, when we have sex, it's in and out, we're done. Like that, it doesn't matter too much to us. Whereas with women, there's an attachment aspect to it. So it makes it a little more personal for you guys. Whereas for us, it doesn't. We can have sex with a random regular girl on the side of a bar at 2 a.m. and go about our day the next day without even giving a shit. Women, it's a little more difficult for some women, right? So obviously you want to pay attention to a man's past. Has he had a lot of girls? Because if he's had a lot of women in his life, then the chance of him being enticed by a random woman is less because he's used to it if he has had a lot of women. I'm not saying slept with a lot of women, but he's had a lot of girlfriends, a lot of women in his life, a lot of women around him. He's a little more used to it. You could tell by the way that he talks. Is he confident in the way that he presents himself? If he is, it's probably because he's, conquered. Whereas, the guys that are a little more shy, a little more reserved, they haven't really had that opportunity. So that's why the high value man typically comes off as more confident. So if you have a confident man who is open to monogamy, then you want to find a confident man, but the man needs to be open to monogamy. Now, this is where I feel as though religion is a huge aspect. It's a huge assistant in finding a faithful man. If you find a religious man, a man of God, Christian faith, then that man will most likely be walking the path of Jesus. He will be following God. And in the Christian religion, it is man and woman. It's not multiple women with one man. If you find a Muslim man following that faith, then you have to understand that that's what your future is going to be. And it's acceptable. There's nothing wrong with that. But, understand what you're getting into before you get into it. So, obviously you want to find a confident man, a man that's had experience, a man that's done the shit, right? Because then he's less enticed to go and cheat. Then there are the men that, the fuckboy types, the ones that are at the bar getting drunk every night. They're out there with a new girl every weekend. Those are the guys that, like the video last week about the women who do this kind of shit, if you find somebody who's in party mode, who basically just lives for the weekend and has sex with whoever, and you see that, and then you think to yourself, okay, this guy, he might sleep with a lot of women, and he's with a different woman every weekend, but I think I could change that. You're not going to change that. You cannot change who a man is. A man will only change when he wants to change. So that's why all of you women who go into a relationship thinking this guy has a lot of potential, but then you get upset when he doesn't change in the future. Well, just because he has potential doesn't mean he's willing to work on said potential. You need to find a man already on that path. So you need to be a little more understanding that you can't just find any loser and turn him into a winner, because that's just not how it works. Men will only grow, men will only work, men will only do the right things when it comes to them, when they make the decision themselves. You being, a mommy to them, telling them, okay, now you got to go to work, now you got to save this money for this house, and that's not going to do anything. Yeah, you might be able to help them. And in few cases, you might be able to change them. But typically that's not the case. Typically, if you find a man whose priorities are drinking, drugs, cars, and girls, you can't change that to, working out, making more money, providing for a family, and settling down. You can't just make that change happen. That change already needs to have been initiated by said man. So, for myself, I was previously on the drinking, girls, all of that path, and I personally made the decision to make that shift into the other end of it. Working out, working on my body, working on making more money, doing all of that shit. That comes from a man making the decision himself, because if you have to tell him to do it, you're not with a man, you're with a boy. And the last thing that you want to do as a woman is make yourself available to a grown-ass child, right? You can't possibly see yourself with a man down the line who you have to tell him what to do in order for him to do it. He needs to already be doing it himself. And then you're coming in to just add to that. So when you find a man that's a project man, you don't go for that. You can't go for that. You need to find a winner, because your job as a woman in a man's life is not to tell him how to live his life. Your job is to kind of like cheer him on, maybe give him some ideas, maybe, help him with something, work-related, job-related, whatever related. You can help him, but the motivation, the initiative, the work ethic is something that he either has or does not have. So when you find these men who are just focused on women and you try to change that to, a job or a future, you're going to be let down every single time. So when you find this man who's all about women, you have to understand that that's just how they're going to be. They're going to cheat because they're all about women. And typically younger men are more focused on just racking up bodies, which there's nothing wrong with that. The same thing as women. Women, when they're younger, they party, they want to have a good time. Men do the same thing. Men do it actually a little longer. So whereas a woman, typically 18 to 25, that's when they're doing that. Men, it's like 18 to fucking 30, 35. Like, you can find the few here, few there, but typically a man's going to live that out as long as he can before he wants to settle down. So you got to find that. And you could tell a man's focus. If they're focused on women, you can tell that because they will still go out. Even when they're with you, they'll still want to go out with their boys all the time. They're still going to want to, they're going to hide their phone from you and all this shit. Not saying you should go through anyone's phone, but, there's signs that are signs of someone who cheats, who has a lot of women, and you just kind of like brush it off like, oh, no, that's not him. You have to understand that those signs are exactly what they are. Those signs are that. So you need to understand them for what they are and act accordingly. You can't sit there and be like, oh, no, it's not him. He wouldn't do that. He would. So obviously recognize a man and act accordingly. Now, again, with men in the hookup culture that we currently live in, it makes it very easy for a man to sleep with a lot of women, because with the society we live in, the for a lack of better words, the godless society that we live in, hookup culture is now more prevalent than ever. When back in the day, maybe, you take someone out on a date, like a guy takes a girl on a date, they go on a few dates, and then maybe they'll sleep together, 3-4 dates in. Now, like, the expectations, first date, second date, maybe not even a date, is the expectation. Now, you have to realize, as a woman, you hold the power in that regard. So if you're giving it up that quick, and this isn't just you, right? If you're the only woman doing this, then you're going to you're going to have a tough time. But women as a whole, right? You want to find faithful men. You want to find men who are godly. You want to find men who are devoted to you. Then women as a whole cannot participate in this hookup culture. So men complain that they don't want, all these whores out here and all these women just sleeping with all these guys. Well, men also play into that problem, because as men, we're looking for those kind of girls. So as a girl, you're going to be like, okay, so men want this, so I'm going to portray this so I can have more options. Unfortunately, when it comes down to it, a man is only going to settle down with a good woman, a woman who doesn't have that checkered past, a woman who doesn't have, racked up 100 bodies. Like, yeah, it's cool and it's fun with your friends, but at the end of the day, that's just not something that a man wants, where it's a huge sexual history, and it's very evident, right? So you can say you got 5 bodies, but you portray more than that, right? So to men who are higher value, which is what you obviously want, they can kind of tell what kind of woman you are. So you need to realize that in order to get the men you want, you need to portray the kind of woman they would want, right? And when they're younger, they want the women who are easy. And some high-value men who have a lot of money, they also want women who are easy. So you have to kind of identify what it is you want. Maybe you're not cut out to be with a high-value man who has a shit ton of money, because that man might be with you on Thursday, be with another girl on Friday, another one on Saturday. Sunday he's, chilling or whatever. Monday he's working. Like, he has a bunch of girls because he can afford that. Whereas like a normal guy from your hometown is going to sit there and take you on a nice date, and like that's kind of like a high percentage of the money he makes per month. This guy, he can take you to the finest restaurant in New York City, and it doesn't even touch what he's got. And then he could take another woman there the next day, and it doesn't even matter. So when you're pursuing these wealthy men and expecting monogamy, you're kind of delusional in that sense. You have to understand men for what they are. So now, with that being said, right, you have to identify the men that you want. You have to identify the men that are in front of you, and you have to understand what it is they are. A good man is easy to spot. A fuckboy is easy to spot as well. Body language, the way they talk, who they talk to, how frequently are they out. You can identify a good man and a fuckboy very easily, because at the end of the day, they portray characteristics that are only going to be for them, for that respective person, whether it's the fuckboy or the good man. So you need to do your own due diligence and find the men you want. Go to the places the men you want are going to be, and that will kind of take away from the possibility of getting cheated on. Now, obviously, getting cheated on for both men and women is inevitable. It can happen to anybody, regardless of how you could find a man in church who's a virgin and you can get cheated on. Like, it's possible, but you want to lower the likelihood of it happening, right? So you can't find a guy who's at a bar, blackout drunk, doing cocaine in the bathroom and be like, yeah, that's probably going to be my husband in a couple years. Like, no, it's not. Now, another sign that you can look for a man who's a good man, a faithful man, or a man who's not, is how quickly they are to take a liking to you and get serious with you. So there are men, there's two sides to it, right? But the genuineness is what it really is. So there's men who are a little more narcissistic, who just jump into it, and they're only doing that to what I think is called love bomb you. And they're doing that to like give you the facade that they want to be with you so they can sleep with you and have the control over you and then let it fizzle out. But there are men who are genuine, who want to take you out, who don't want to just sleep with you. Those are the men that you want to give your time to mitigate the cheating. Now, if a guy completely doesn't give you time, and you've been talking to him for 3, 4, 5 months, and you see him maybe once a week, you get a couple texts a day maybe, and no FaceTime, no effort at all, that man isn't serious about you. That man has other women. That's why you're getting such little effort, because that man has other women to tend to. So it's not just you. There's a woman up here, and there's you. So you can either work your way up, or you can understand the situation you're in and leave it. I know a girl personally who was dating a man who was, he's a very wealthy man, very well-off man, twice her age, but had good money, whatever. Party lifestyle, it was very fun for her. And I remember when I saw her, it was a party in the summertime, I saw her and they were fighting. Her and this man were fighting. And I was like, oh, what happened? What's going on? She goes, oh, he's talking to another girl. And I sat there and I thought to myself, and you guys probably think the same thing, right? No shit. You're 25, he's 50. He's got all this money, and he's in Miami like once a month? What do you expect, right? So you need to understand that, yeah, you might be intrigued by the lifestyle. You might enjoy having things bought for you. You might enjoy being able to wake up on, a nice boat or, in a different country every month. You might enjoy that. But you're going to enjoy that the same as all the other girls are going to enjoy that. And you can't get mad when this guy is talking to other women. You have no right to. This man has earned that, and that's what he wants. So for you to sit there and say, no, he needs to be monogamous to me, well, no. He worked hard to get to where he is, and with where he is, this is how he's doing it. So you can't get mad for what he's doing the same way a man cannot get mad at a woman who's living it up in their earlier 20s, right? If you're a girl, if you're a woman in your early 20s, and you choose to be on boats and drink and get drunk all the time and hang out with your friends and party all the time, nobody can get mad at you. No one has the right to get mad at you because it's your prerogative to do anything you want with your body and however you want to do it. You just have to understand the repercussions after the fact. So though this man who's 50 years old and has all these young girlfriends and naked girls on his boat and everything, though he might be seemingly living a great lifestyle, the girl that he was texting was his ex-wife. He was trying to get her back. He wanted the family lifestyle. So, there's a flip side to every coin. When you're a woman, if you're enjoying your early 20s, you pay for it later in life. As a man, if you now later in life want to enjoy all the money you have, great. But now you're going to pay for it by the woman you did have, the good woman in your life, not wanting to be a part of that. Because why would she? You hurt her one time, and now she's not going to want you back. So understand the man that you're dealing with. Now, say that none of that is the case, and you just have a regular man by your side. You have a regular man working a regular job maybe he's working towards something. He's trying to build a business and work on his body and just everything we talk about in the podcast, all the self-improvement stuff. So how can you as a woman in a good relationship or a happy relationship mitigate the chance of being cheated on or replaced by another woman? Well, that is very simple. And some of you might not like this, but who gives a shit? I'm going to tell you exactly how it is and either take it or don't. So as a man, I can tell you this. A woman who is nurturing, who does the small things. So, when I come home, if you cook dinner, that is like the greatest thing ever. If you do laundry, greatest thing ever. And it's not like every single night, but it's those small acts of kindness that go such a long way. Because in a society now where women are told that they don't need to cook or clean, what's that fucking Cardi B? I don't cook, I don't clean. Like, women are being told they don't have to do these things, and you don't. You absolutely do not. But unfortunately, you're setting the bar extremely low for the women who do. So if the average woman is not cooking, is not cleaning, is not, giving her man a massage, a head rub, just doing small little things, then when a woman comes in and does that, that just blows a man's mind. And I could tell you firsthand, when that kind of stuff happens, it takes a man back. Like, whoa, hold up. What, you cooked dinner? You made me lunch? Oh, you want to give me a massage? Oh, you did the laundry and put it, oh my God. Like, that is literally just mind blown type shit. You bring yourself up a million pegs by doing that. So if you do that kind of stuff, so say for example, a man like me, who I'm busy every single day. I don't have a day off. I work daytime, nighttime, every day. I have Sundays on occasion I have off. So you can imagine getting things done in the house is kind of tough to do, but I make it work. That's part of my schedule. So if there's a woman that comes into my house, right? So I have a girl that I'm talking to and she's in the house and she just happens to, when I come home, there's food on the table that's not just like rice and chicken. Blown away. Blown away. You want to give me a massage because I've had a hard day or, I worked out and I'm sore. And you give me the massage. That's amazing. That goes beyond what the standard woman is doing. And it's the same concept as men, right? So with men, women, right? Men have set the bar so low. So with a man, if a man is just buying you flowers and treating you nicely and not just objectifying you, you're like, whoa, that's different. I'm used to, as soon as I talk to a guy, he sends me a dick pic and asks for a nude and tries to hook up. And this guy, he's asking me, what my dream job is or where I want to live or like having actual conversation with me. And that kind of stuff is a huge deal because the bar has been set so low. Our society is such trash when it comes to men and women being their stereotypical role that when you find that, you are just blown away. Common courtesy and respect blows you away, but the bar is low. So all you have to do is that, right? So if you do those things, that will keep a man with you because you are just making his life that much easier. A man who is on his shit, which is who you should be looking for, is a man who is on his shit. He has built something or is building something. You find that man, his life is hectic. His life is literally non-stop, pedal to the metal, go, go, go all the time. If you can find a way to put a small bit of peace and tranquility into that normally hectic lifestyle, you will set yourself apart from any other woman that he has talked to or is talking to in some cases. You will set yourself apart because of that. Because women don't do that anymore. So if you could do that, you have already mitigated the chances of getting cheated on tenfold. Now, on top of that, right, if you can kind of help him with his business and have those conversations with him and maybe don't argue as much and don't complain as much. Because if you're with a driven man, typically he's going to be doing the stuff that you want him to do anyway. So if you don't complain and if you just do those nice things, you've set yourself apart. Now I'm not saying be that like, stay at home, women belong in the kitchen type shit. But, if you do, you set yourself apart. So that's another way to mitigate getting cheated on. Now, men on a very primal level love sex. Sex is huge for men. It doesn't matter with who. It's just that from the dawn of time, men have just been dogs, right? So that's another way to kind of mitigate getting cheated on. So women tend to like sex, right? Like this whole, misconception of like a lot of men think, oh, women don't like sex as much as men. We all know that's not true. So if you can initiate and give a man that part of it as well, on a regular basis, he won't be able to look for it somewhere else. If you make it so that he doesn't have the energy to go looking, he won't. If you can help him in the house, he won't. Like, if you do these small things, he won't go looking elsewhere. And honestly, I can speak from experience. If you find a man who is ready to settle down, he also will not cheat on you. So, yeah, in a society where men cheat all the time and cheating is in every song and every social media post or every social media account has cheating and this and that, and it's all like games and fun and it's just part of our culture, great. But if you find a man who is on his path, he's a God-fearing man, intentional about what he is doing and who he is doing it with, then you've mitigated your chances of being cheated on tenfold. With all the things that I've just named and those things, including the intentional man, you've mitigated the chances of being cheated on tenfold. So you find a good man who is intentional, God-fearing, and on his shit, and you just cook sometimes, make him a snack sometimes, throw a bag of chips at him, and maybe a massage every once in a while, you're golden. You have made it so the only way he could cheat on you, which there is always that possibility, unfortunately, the only way that man can cheat on you, if you're doing all of these things, the only way he's going to cheat on you is if you've just chosen a pure piece of shit. And at the beginning of the video, we talked about it. Here's all the signs of a piece of shit. So go back to the beginning. Go back to the beginning and be like, okay, so he is in the bars getting drunk all the time. Probably not a good prospect for your future husband and father of your children, right? Oh, he's doing coke every day. Probably not a good prospect. He's having sex with different women all the time. Probably not a good prospect. So you need to be able to find the man you want, identify the man that you want, and then keep the man that you want. and then you've mitigated the chances. The chances are never zero, right? The chances are never zero. Men cheat, women cheat all the time. It's just, unfortunately, a part of the society that we live in. So you always have that chance. But if you do the things that I said, I promise you, when you find a good man, he's not going nowhere. Now, if you try and, if you try and be with that guy in the bar that's blackout drunk, you're going to get cheated on no matter what you do. Don't get mad about that, though. You kind of put it on yourself. But if you find a good man, an intentional man, a God-fearing man on his path, doing his shit, busy all the time because he's building an empire, well then, just follow the instructions I gave you. I promise you, he will not cheat. Promise you. Now, if you have any other questions or some experience that you've had that I could talk about in another video, feel free to put that in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe to the podcast, and I'll catch you guys next time.